Salt is a valuable natural resource. Europe's first known salt mine, here in Hallstatt, made this region one of the most affluent trading centers in the early Iron Age. Hallstatt was in fact one of the cradles of the Celtic culture. The earliest finds were dated from 12th century before Common Era. Most historians today believe that the Celtic tribes began to explore the salt mines already in the Neolithic era, that is between the 8th and 5th centuries before Common Era. Around the salt mines, archaeologists have uncovered many well-preserved material, including tools, shoes, and leather. In the 14th century, when Hallstatt still was ruled by the Romans, it became a market town. At the end of the 16th century, the world's oldest pipeline was constructed.
Hallstatt is not only a UNESCO heritage town, it is really loved by a huge number of people in a country called the People's Republic of China. This town is so loved that they actually built an identical copy of this town. Our theme of this excursion is the idea of being original. Why the original ideas will spur us to create new ideas, and why to make a copy of an existing thing will just allow us or encourage people around us to stagnate upon their own development towards a more independent person.
The earliest urban cultures developed around the 8th century. In this region, their own civilizations are characterized by a high degree of connectivity. Artifacts and ideas transmitted back and forth through both trading and warfare. Celtic merchants traveled down to the Mediterranean and brought home fancy products such as Greek pottery, mud bricks, and beautiful jewelries. Archaeological excavations suggest that 5,000 inhabitants lived in this area in the heyday. There was a network of roads which connect the dwellings inside the fortified town. Many inhabitants made a living by working as bronze, silver, and goldsmith.
I am Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair and dress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation. Regarding creation, let's look at this. Around 2,900 years ago, a very wealthy Celtic woman went to grave after a life in luxury, and what she brought with her to her grave are a few of the finest pieces which were made in gold.
Of beautifully ornamented items which have been uncovered from a large number of Celtic chieftains' burial chambers witness how the ancient people might envisage the continuum between life and death. The male held a firm belief in the indestructibility of human soul. The spirit might simply just passes from one tenement to the next at death. 1 century before Common Era, a Roman scholar, Alexander Cornelius Polyhistor, who met the Celtic soldiers in the battlefield, scribbled down the following about the Celtic's view of reincarnation. The souls of men are immortal, and that after a fixed number of years, they will enter into another body. According to Julius Caesar, the principle of Celtic doctrine is that the soul does not die, and that after death, it simply passes from one body to the next. Many Celtic sagas illustrate a palpable acceptance of transformation. According to most narratives, what we see in the mirror is only our temporary shape. After we'll be rebirthed again, a new round of transmigration might be able to turn ourselves from a current human shape into a beautiful magical butterfly, equipping us with new skills, also new expectations. The short visit in the other world should be as uneventful as waiting for the next train in a grand railway station.
It is difficult to miss all the wooden sculptures upon this beautiful, beautiful graveyard. Again, I really like how they express their personal vulnerations through each and every sculptures. I think the idea of one's life, the dignity of the path who has wandered through the good time and the bad time are so vividly depicted upon which idol you would like to have as a wooden sculpture upon a graveyard.
The final rest place, or the idea of death, has never escaped from anyone's thought, despite the Protestant priests promised the existence of purgatory after the Reformation. The bone house in St. Michael's Chapel is in fact Austria's largest orangery. There are altogether 600 artistically painted skulls, majority of which were painted at the end of the 18th century when the Protestant has loosened their control over the locals.
Regardless who you were when you were alive, after you passed the boundary between life and death, entering to the other realm, you're just one of the crowd piling up on this table. And I really like the idea that they're writing each and every people's name on their skull, just signifying a kind of veneration toward the deed they have conducted while they were alive.
Every religion has its own genesis or creation, also a vision of life after death. When the polytheistic religions were venerated in this region, the prospect of the transmigration depends on the amount of heroic deeds a warrior conducted in the battlefield when fighting for his honor and the survival of the tribes. Around 1,000 years ago, the first Roman Catholic congregation was formed in this promontory. A small Romanesque cathedral with a sturdy bell tower from the 12th century testified that many inhabitants in this region were probably already devout believers. In the beginning of the 16th century, Protestant movement gained more and more ground rapidly within Habsburg's empire. Many nobilities joined Reformation zealously and sent their offsprings to North German universities, which had been exposed more fully to Protestant influence. In addition, the invention of Gutenberg's printers allowed a large number of Austrian scholars to learn the core ideas via well-written pamphlets. However, the Reformation was not only an intellectual discussion of the content of the gospel or trying to achieve some means of social equality. In the core, there is a political movement.
The residents in Hallstatt were not copycats. On the contrary, they were really stronger soldiers who fought against a lot of events in the history, among others, the historical Lutheran movement. They were so sturdy in their convictions that at the end, they burned all the bridges between this town and the other side and continued to practice their ancient Catholic religion. My question is, when the Chinese copy their city, did they never ever think about what each and every symbol represents in terms of self-reliance and to be true to one's own conviction.
Current Hallstatt is a Baroque town. Most theatrical Catholic decorations witness how Italian architect masters influenced the artistic norms, and also how religion continued to shape people's view of ethics and the power structure. In a tiny street, we discovered one of the most original dwellings which we have seen in Austria so far. By displaying a large number of obsolete carpenting tools, the tenant encourages the comfortable travelers to reflect upon the meaning of individuality. We are more prone to make mistakes when using such tools. However, generations before us used tools like this to create this vibrant community with an array of unique houses.
This is a popular spot that many tourists like to stay and take photos. Just look at its exterior decoration of these beautiful wooden house, Roman bust, many important carpeting tools. I think being original is not only about express who you think you are, it's also about to articulate your inner desire, enable to aspire yourself to work really hard towards your own dream.
How to define one's identity? Is it always a welcomed act to display the idea of who we really are publicly, especially if one's inner desire is very different in comparison with the general trend? Was it easier to live a freer life before the introduction of mass media and social media? Do we, the modern humans, have a stronger desire to accumulate the number of likes given by people whom we hardly know or care? Or is it more challenging to act self-reliantly now than David Henry Thoreau's time?
And my question is, again, could what be really beautiful in Austria be equally admirable in Far East? Is the architecture style the only thing which attracts us to this mountain village?
Hallstatt is indeed a sagacious town, which has not changed its appearance since the 18th century. When walking along the most scenic road along the lakeshore, we suddenly understood why we would like to come back again, despite it is one of the most touristic places in Austria. Amidst the ongoing Protestant reformation, the inhabitants burned down all bridges which linked them to the Protestant Austria. When they were forced to assimilate to an ideal which they were not yet ready to embrace, despite the rich and famous ones elsewhere, endorse this new version of Christianity fervently. Their action must sound extremely strange, retrospectively, when scrutinizing how religion changed people's mindset through Enlightenment period and later in Industrial Revolution. Nevertheless, their determination to refuse to follow the flow allowed them to preserve their ancient tongue, giving the modern people a sense of the old world charm.